80 teams to go on my road to predict all 131 teams this college football offseason. The final team in the ACC, the Clemson Tigers, are up for 2022 predictions, and this is a team that, look, we know the story about Clemson a season ago. Their offense, for most of the year, and especially at lots of points, lots of crucial points, was just not there, was very ineffective, and at times seemingly non-existent. Not a lot of things got worked out, and now Clemson has to deal with the losses of not only a lot of talent as they do every year, but losses of some key offensive and defensive coaches to this team as well. So can Clemson rebound from a season ago and push their way back up top to contending for a national championship? Or will this Clemson team disappoint and miss out on Charlotte for the second straight year in 2022? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate, and welcome to my channel. I'm predicting all 131 teams this college football offseason, and that means I'm doing your favorite team. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when that video gets uploaded. And for fans of the Clemson Tigers out there, but again, fans in general, you guys will know your favorite team a lot more than I do. So if you feel like I missed something, want to add something, anything of the sort, leave it in the comment section down below, and I'll be happy to see what you guys have to say. So let's talk about Clemson in 2022, shall we? This is my top-ranked team in the ACC coming into the 2022 college football season. Now, I know they did not play like 7 or 8 times, however many it was, ACC champions in a row a season ago. We're 9-3 in the regular season, missed out on going to the ACC championship game. We're 6-2 in conference. Of course, that bid belonged to Wake Forest from the ACC Atlantic a year ago. But when you look at this Clemson Tiger team all around, their defense last year was fine, and that was not the concern. But I'll read some stats off anyway. 308 yards, 15 points per game. Amazing stuff from the Clemson defense. It was the Clemson offense that at times last year you could consider to be downright embarrassing. 359 yards per game with around 26 points per game. Sorry, Clemson fans. I know you may agree with me there on that as well. But, I mean, this was a Clemson offense that at a lot of points last year just was not there, or seemingly not there, was not as effective as it has been for so many years prior. And what doesn't help either is that they lose offensive coordinator Tony Elliott. He took the head coaching job at Virginia, and they also lose defensive coordinator Brent Venables. He took the head coaching job at his former alma mater in Oklahoma. So Brandon Streeter, Wes Goodwin, probably going to be those next two coordinators behind head coach Dabo Swinney, who, of course, remains there. Now, again, last season, a disappointment for the Clemson Tigers, and you could consider it that, yes. But still a double-digit win year, and still a lot of things that still a lot of good things happening at Clemson that you could look at moving on to 2022. However, let's look at some losses on this team. I know I'm going to butcher this name, so I apologize. Tyson Fomakan is gone off of this team. Was the backup last year to DJ Uiagalelei, and he has transferred out, as has running back Lynjay Dixon, has transferred out of that running back room. In the wide receiver room, though, this is where you start to lose some of the real talent. Justin Ross, 514 yards per game with around 3 touchdowns, or with 3 touchdowns a season ago. Also Frank Ladson and Aju, a couple younger guys that are transferring out of this program. Offensive lineman Paul Chio, gone there as well. Darnell Jeffries, gone off the defensive line. But the linebacking group, whew, man, did it get hit hard. James Skalski, Balen Spector, the 2 leading tacklers on this team a season ago. Each of them had 2.5 sacks. You'll lose their production as well as Kane Patterson. And then in the defensive back position, Andrew Booth had 37 tackles, 5 passes defended, 3 interceptions a season ago. Mario Goodrich had 9 passes defended and 2 interceptions. And then Nolan Turner, 45 tackles, 2 sacks a season ago. So you're losing a lot of talent on the defensive end. Again, it was a really talented defense from a season ago, as well as some talent and some depth on the offensive end as well. But when you look at the talent that's coming back, there is, yes, concern about this Clemson offense, but the talent is there, and there's no question about that. DJ Uiagalelei, seemingly by Dabo Swinney, has been committed to as that starter. Now, last year, threw more interceptions than touchdowns, had 10 picks, 9 tutties, with 2,246 yards, rocking a 55% completion percentage. Not what DJ Uiagalelei was supposed to be last season. and he's got to drastically improve those numbers from a season ago if Clemson's going to be back towards the top, contending for an ACC championship and a national championship there as well. However, what's new about this Clemson team is proven quarterback depth. Cade Klubnik, I believe the number one quarterback from last season, or from this past recruiting cycle, coming in. He has 5 stars next to his name, and now you have a backup to DJ Uiagalelei in case DJ just, again, like last year, proves to just not be that effective and not be what we hoped. Cade Klubnik can absolutely step in and start in DJ Uiagalelei's place. Your running back room is set. Will Shipley, Kobe Pace, each of them had over 500 yards and 5 touchdowns last year. More specifically, Shipley had 739 yards, 11 touchdowns. Pace had 641 yards and 6 touchdowns. So there is your running back room and the wide receiver room. Joseph Ngata figures to be the leading receiver there. 438 yards and a touchdown a season ago. But also you got Bo Collins coming back, 407 yards with 3 touchdowns, as well as Davis Allen at tight end and E.J. Williams coming back at the wide receiver position. This, however, and when you look, I'm getting ahead of myself. When you look at the defensive end, linebacker Trenton Simpson is coming back, had 65 tackles and 6 sacks a season ago. But this very well may be the best defensive line in America. I mean, just look at these names. Brian Brzee, Xavier Thomas, Tyler Davis, Miles Murphy. If that defensive front right there does not strike fear into you, it should. It absolutely should. That, in my opinion, looking at it, is the best defensive line in the entire country. I mean, it's definitely the most raw talented. It's just got to get out there and prove what I think a lot of people are thinking about this Clemson D-line. And then the defensive back, Sheridan Jones, Andrew Mukuba, Jaden Lucas, among some other names you could throw up on this board there as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at this Clemson schedule. And I know, again, there are a lot of questions about the offense. They're going to get games to figure it out. A couple games in non-con against Furman and Louisiana Tech. But before all, that is a conference game at a neutral site against the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. So you definitely have 3 games right there that, again, of teams that don't project to be that great, or at least up at Clemson's level. So you get a couple games there to kind of see what your offense looks like, and maybe if you have to make the switch to Cade Klubnik before you get in to the real games in conference play, or excuse me, to the real challenging games, I should say, in conference play. When you take a look at conference play, you got road games against Wake Forest, Boston College, Florida State, and then home games against NC State, Syracuse, Louisville, and Miami, and sprinkled in there, game at the end of the year against South Carolina, and a road game on November 5th against Notre Dame. So let's take a look at what Clemson, let's take a deeper dive in on this Clemson schedule. So again, you kind of get 3 games to figure your offense out and figure things out, how things going to look with the new coordinators and everything like that. You get a chance to figure out what this team is going to be. But then you get hard in conference play. On the road against Wake Forest, at home against NC State. Those are going to be 2 important games in the division race. On the road against Boston College, on the road against Florida State. 2 sites where Clemson may have some trouble. They very well may. I mean, Boston College returns Jurkovic and Flowers, the quarterback wide receiver duo, respectively. Also returned 1,000-yard rusher Pat Garwell. That's definitely a Boston College team that can absolutely surprise Clemson. And on the road, same thing with Florida State. It's a team that just keeps getting better. They can surprise Clemson when Clemson goes on the road to play Florida State. But also, there are a couple games in there that I'm not super concerned about, although Syracuse is going to be a team that is a fighter in 2022, so watch out for the Orange. And Louisville has one of the most dynamic playmakers in the country, yet Clemson gets them at home. That final game at home against South Carolina, the Gamecocks are a much improved team, so I'd still be wary of what the Gamecocks are capable of. But then 2 games I haven't talked about, 2 very important games at the end of the year for the Clemson Tigers. It's the home game against Miami, possible ACC championship game preview there, and then on the road against Notre Dame, as Notre Dame is in the first year of the Marcus Freeman era. I don't do game-by-game predictions. I do a more percentage-based outlook to help me predict the team's record. So, if the game is in red, just don't see you winning the game. If the game's in orange, still don't see you winning, but hey, it's college football and upsets can happen. Yellow are your 50-50 or high upset potential games. Games in yellow-green are games that you should win, but watch out for the team on the other side of the ball. And games in green are games that I have you winning. So, of course, again, those first 3 games, I don't really see a way Clemson loses any of those 3 games there. I think they're kind of games to get yourself figured out. You know, what's this team going to look like? New coordinators, possibly a new quarterback if Dabo Swinney wants to move to Cade Klubnik, although Uiagalelei figures to be that guy to start out the year. And it's definitely a chance to figure out what the offense is going to look like. And honestly, I don't even think it's going to take 3 games. I think it's going to take 1 half of football. I think you guys are going to know what this Clemson offense is going to be in the first half against Georgia Tech. If not, maybe even the full game against Georgia Tech. But then again, they get thrown in. The 2 most important games in the division race, Wake Forest and North Carolina, Clemson gets right off the bat. You got to go on the road to play Wake Forest, a team that is losing their defensive coordinator, but the offense should still be very, very good. I mean, very good. Sam Hartman coming back, A.T. Perry coming back, lots of other playmakers coming in for that Wake Forest team there as well, and then NC State, a team that's got a lot of hype coming into 2022. It can absolutely be a threat to Clemson in the ACC at Atlantic. Make no mistake about it. Both those games are going to be very, very interesting to watch. Clemson probably gets the trickier of the 2 at home. You got to go on the road to play Wake Forest, whereas you get NC State at home, and I think NC State probably going to be the trickier of the 2 games to play. So we'll see how those 2 games play out. A couple games on the road that could be fairly tricky. Again, I've kind of talked about them already, but Clemson's got to watch out for those ones. And Syracuse, even though that game is in green, the Orange are a team that can fight. And I think that can prove to make some games closer than they might first appear to be. The game against Louisville, I have in yellow-green there as well. I see them winning that. And the game against South Carolina, although can't take either of those teams lightly. But the 2 games at the end of the year as well, I think are going to play massive roles on this Clemson season. At home against Miami, it's a new-look Miami coaching staff, possible new-look Miami team. Although Tyler Van Dyke, what a stud he is at quarterback. I know he's got fairly long odds to get into New York as a Heisman contender, but it wouldn't surprise me at all to see him in New York as a Heisman finalist. And then on the road against Notre Dame, which may very well be your toughest game of the year, albeit Notre Dame's got a lot of question marks coming into the year. The big question mark about this Clemson team is that offense, right? And can it get back to where it was a season ago? And I think it can. And whether or not it's Uiagalelei or Cade Klubnik that has to come in and start, I think that quarterback position is going to tell a lot about what Clemson's able to do in 2022. But I think eventually Clemson is going to get this whole thing figured out. And I got Clemson at 11-1 coming into 2022. So that is my record for them. Where they could drop a game. I mean, they could lose that game to Miami at the end of the year. They could. They could lose the game on the road against Wake Forest, at home against NC State. They could lose either of those. I think the most likely loss here, and I know the one that a lot of people are predicting, is on the road against Notre Dame. But with this schedule here and with how much better the ACC has gotten over the past couple of seasons, I do see Clemson dropping at least 1 game down the road. But with that being said, this is the team that if it can get that quarterback position figured out, if Uiagalelei can prove to be a lot better of a quarterback than he was last year, or if Cade Klubnik has to come in and start and puts up big numbers. I think if they figure out the quarterback position, 12-0 is a possibility. However, again, if the offense is stagnant, I do think this is has a lot of tricky landmine games on it. 8-4. I think more realistically 9-3 again is that floor, but I could see 8-4 there as well. So that's going to do it for the Clemson Tigers in 2022. I got them going 11-1, and more likely than not, in my opinion, going back to Charlotte. So thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Anything helps support my channel. Remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. I'll see all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.